You've got Mac and Mac. John McMullen and Jody McDonald, your Mac and Mac guys on Birds 365. A practicing Thursday. The Eagles actually can get back to practice. Way to go, guys.
Yeah, man. I'm not. Well, it seems like it's been a while.
It has been a while because they're in the midst of a mini bye, having played on Thursday and not playing till Monday. Remember, Monday Night Football this week for the Eagles. Sunday, you can kick back and watch every other game just like you did this past Sunday because the Eagles don't play till Monday night. And we will start the preview of their matchup against the Bucs on Monday night because we've got a Bucs reporter on and an Eagle reporter, so we got two good guests coming your way. No Eagle practice yesterday, John, but they did make the coordinators available to you media guys, including Michael Clay, not just your offensive and defensive coordinators, but the special teams coordinator as well, and they had a special teams announcement to make yesterday. You heard from all three guys. Who'd you learn the most from out of the three Eagle coordinators?
Sean Desai, I think, kind of intimated that what I thought was going to happen, and that's James Bradbury's not moving full-time into the slot. I don't know. Nick might get mad at him. or he just misspoke.
Giving up that competitive advantage.
Yeah,
how dare he?
But he said we're not, his role is cornerback, and he meant outside cornerback. And it makes sense to me. He's an all-pro player. Why are you moving him? It never made any sense to me. But in specific instances, and I think last week, but he didn't play because of the concussion. I think you might have saw it with Hawkinson moving inside on occasion. The one Hawkinson TD, remember, he ran over Mario Goodrich, the slot corner. So that might have been Bradbury. And that, I think, is, if you see Travis Kelce later in the season, maybe something of that nature. If he mentioned if they put Mike Evans in the slot, which I don't know. He said they've been doing more. I have to double check. We'll have to ask J.C. Allen we're going to have on. I mean, the guy never plays in the slot. So I don't know if they've changed anything. But I think in those types of instances, you might see him in there. But long term, it's an all-pro player. Why would you move him, Jody McDonald?
Yeah. When you first told me that they were working on it in preseason practice, I was like, huh? Wait a minute. Guy just made all-pro. Why would you take him off the outside to move him inside when you've got a player of that level? It didn't add up. I get the thinking behind it. If it's on a very limited basis, matchup based, you could do something like that. I guess that makes sense. But when you lose Maddox and you have to find someone to become your number one slot corner, yeah, I didn't think it was going to be Bradbury, which means that as of right now, and right now means for me into Monday night against the Bucs, they're not going to sign somebody today and have them up to speed to be their number one slot corner for Monday night's game against the Bucs. It is going to be Mario Goodrich. And I didn't think he was great on Monday night from the time Maddox went down when he filled in. You mentioned the individual play that Hawkinson made against him. He wasn't horrific. He didn't get burned on every single play, but I didn't see him make any big plays. And I saw him trailing on a couple of plays.
Yeah, he forced a fumble, but that was the one that got overturned because Kentavious Street was offside. So he did make that play, and it should have been a play. He lined up offside, so it wasn't like it impacted his ability. So he got better. I thought he was a little bit, and understandably so. That was the first time he's ever played. I thought he was a little bit shaky when he first came in, and he got better, and that's how Sean described it. And I think that's right. But it wasn't great. Yeah. I mean, I think they targeted him 6 times, 6 receptions. So it's not great, but they weren't big plays. Couple to running backs, and he got right up there and made the tackle. But the Vikings running backs stink. So it wasn't terrible.
Right.
It wasn't. It wasn't.
If you're looking for a grade, I give him a C. It wasn't D or F. Sure, Zach wasn't A+ coming in off the bench. And, oh, my God, where's this guy been? C. You get a C. But if you want to say that you think he got better during the course of the game, all right, then it's a C with an arrow up. And you're hoping that arrow continues up with that many more reps. Although today is the first practice, which, yeah, I got to tell you this. Maybe it was Clay who said it. Oh, you know what it was about the extra holding snaps that the punter is going to get. Oh,
Yeah,
it happened this week because it happened to. No, it's the exact same practices. There's numbers of practice. Was he? Did you get some inside information that he and Jake Elliott were out working on?
Yeah, they got an extra day. They were out there working. So, kickers can do whatever they want. Basically, they sit by themselves, and the punters. The group, Rick and Jake, and now it's going to be Braden Mann. They sit, they're off in the corner. So they did have an extra day to work on stuff, but it's an extra day. I mean, what? It's overblown either way.
Right.
But they did have an extra.
Oh, by the way, guilty is charged of the overblown thing because you and I have been talking about it. We the poor kick punter who was in here for the supposed competition with Sipas this off season, Zentner. He missed the one kick that he held for in the preseason. And you said you specifically went back and watched it and you thought it was absolutely perfect and fine. Yeah. But Elliott missed, so it had to be Zentner's fault. Oh, he just can't kick if Sipas isn't holding it. Well, we're going to look at it the same way with the new punter, Braden Mann. It's all going to come down to whether Jake makes a kick or not. If he does, then there's no problems. If he misses, everybody's going to be looking at the holder and say, oh, what did he do wrong? Why didn't he get the ball down faster? Did he have laces out? Is this Ace Ventura, pet detective again? No. It's a little overblown, a little ridiculous, but we're going to do it. I can guarantee you that, John.
Oh, yeah. If he misses one, I mean, it's going to be, because he's been kicking at a high level. It's going to be a thing, but only if he misses. And that's the life of same thing with Rick. Nobody talks about Rick Lobato because he's good. And there's generally no problems. The only time his name is going to come up, except right now, is if there's a bad snap.
Yep.
Same thing. A little bit different because in Zentner's case, as you mentioned, it wasn't a bad hold, but the guy who's making all these kicks misses one. And the only thing different was Sipas to Zentner. Yep. So, and kickers have a history, but Michael brought up, and I think he's right. I don't think Jake's like most kickers. Like, he's a great athlete. I talk about it all the time. He's a great golfer. Anything with hand-eye coordination, he's great at. He's great at ping pong. He's great at everything that involves hand-eye coordination. He's one of the best pure athletes on the team. I know people say he is. He like wins everything when they're having little competitions. I don't think he's like the normal kicker, but I've seen so many kickers that have those mental, whatever you want to call it, hiccups. And it's real. And he did have one poor season here where there was a little bit of that, and he righted the ship. So you got to keep an eye on it. The only reason it's ever going to come up is if he starts missing kicks, and then you have to look at it. I mean, but Aaron was not punting well, and I think you look at it. There was that one punt return that the Vikings brought back. It was a bad punt, and they brought it back 20 yards or so. They were going to be on a short field, but Justin Evans punched it out at the last minute. And that sort of overshadowed the bad punt and what was going to be. And from a coach's perspective, you're looking at, that's not good. You can't count on that. It's a bad punt. It's a bad coverage aspect. And he happened to get a little bit lucky at the end. It's not something you want to hang your hat on. So he, which I'm glad the Eagles kind of acknowledged that, because it's, it was bad. It was a bit, from a coaching perspective, it was a bad play, even though
you got a good
it
result.
Ended up as a turnover. Yeah.
Right. They did make one other special teams move yesterday, which I got to tell you, John, I was certainly surprised, borderline shocked. that they made it official that Britton Covey is now on the 53-man roster. They had the chance, if they wanted to keep Aaron Sipos around for one more week, elevating him from the practice squad, made the decision to move off of him and let him go. And Braden Mann is now part of the practice squad as well, which means he's going to be elevated this week. And it can be done. That can be done 3 times before they have to make a decision. They made a decision with a week to spare on Britton Covey that he's now going to be on the 53-man, on the 46, returning punts on Monday night against the Bucs. Any reason that they decided to go ahead and for the mindset of Britton Covey? What was your read as to why? And if Michael Clay touched on it, please tell us as to why they decided to put Covey on the roster this week.
Well, they had an open spot because Avante, you got to put Avante on IR, and they did. So they opened the spot, and then it's like, all right, what are you going to do with the spot? There was some thought that maybe they would sign William Jackson. If that's not the case, are you just going to put Braden Mann on the roster? And the case Britton's been here, my guess is, and the Eagles have done this in the past, get him a little bit more money. He's been here, and they're a good organization when it comes to that. So they were going to do it in week 4 anyway. So you do it a little bit earlier. And that's the decision. I think when they decided to stand pat at nickel cornerback, at least for 1 week, I think, they went in that direction. And Braden Mann has a 3-week tryout, basically. If he punts well, he'll be on the roster as well. And then you got to make a decision down the road unless there's another injury. And sometimes these problems take care of themselves with injuries. And that's sort of what happened with Maddox. It opened up a spot. You're going to have to find a spot for him in week 4 anyway. So just sped up a week.
All right. So with the 46 on Monday night against the Bucs, Rick's been inactive the first couple of weeks. Is he going to be activated? Because, yes, if Goodrich is slipping in and going to be the starter and take as many of the snaps as necessary at the slot position, do you play with one less D-back? Do you think
he was active? He was active last week. He was active against the Vikings, I believe.
Rick's was?
Yeah.
Okay, so do you think they're going to play down a safety, a D-back person, or do you think that a guy like Garner could be activated and jump from the practice squad?
Well, the problem is they don't have any damn nickel corners. They got all these big, long guys, and I asked Sean Desai about that, and that's when he brought up Mike Evans playing in the slot, because I I try to ask the general question because, when you ask specific players, and Ricks did play 1 rep against the Vikings.
That's right, because Bradbury was out.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, but Bradbury's going to be back, so
right.
that complicates things as well. So he might have an issue. But as far as both of them, I mean, they both can't play in the slot, so I don't know how much it improves. I'm talking about Ringo and Ricks and even Gardner. So 3 of them, if you bring up, they're all 6'2".
Big guys.
And Sean gave an answer that, he brought up Mike Evans. Like sometimes they're putting Mike Evans in the slot. Okay, but they're not doing it a lot. And I would love to see that breakdown of when he's in the slot. I bet you it's a bunch of empty sets where you got to have somebody inside. So even that could be misconstrued. It's just, it's a position that is not desirous, whatever you would use for larger guys. I mean, it's difficult for them. It's more difficult for them. Just like it's difficult, and people say it's Avonte Maddox had 1 bad year here, and that's because they tried to play him outside.
Right.
And he's too small to play outside.
Going up against 6'3" wide receivers.
So I mean, it works both ways, but it's real, and you can't play 6'2" guys in the slot, and especially 6'2" guys with no experience in the slot, and that's Ringo, Ricks, and Gardner, because nobody's at the college level saying, "Hey, let's play this guy in the slot. He can run." No, they're playing outside. So yeah, I mean, it's not going to help you in the slot is what I'm trying to say.
And what I'm trying to say is Mr. Goodrich better be up to speed by this Monday night. He's going to get a little baptism under fire with Maddox going down and Eagles not having depth at that position. It's going to be Mario or sink, as a matter
Yeah,
of
by
fact.
the way, I go back to that Houston game, Jody. I think a lot of people forget I mentioned, they gave Marvin Wilson one chance to when Jordan got hurt, Jordan Davis and Marlon got hurt, Marlon Tui Pelotu. They gave Marvin Wilson one chance in Houston to sort of lock it, and it did not go well. And then Linval Joseph was on the phone, and Ndamukong Suh was on the phone. Same thing this week. I think Mario Goodrich is getting one shot, and if it's bad, I think outside help is on the horizon.
They will be burning up the phones to find themselves another experienced slot corner. He's McMullen. I'm McDonald. You got Mac here on Birds 365. As I said previously, we've got one Eagle reporter and one Tampa Bay Buccaneer reporter. Going to go a little bit behind enemy lines. J.C. Allen's going to join us. He was on with us last year. Did a nice job whenever we need Buck information. He made the jump over to Sports Illustrated this year. Joined Johnny Mac. He's part of Bucks Game Day, the Sports Illustrated Tampa Bay Buccaneer site. And he's going to join us next here on Birds 365.